Today I'm going to show you how to put together our wire-wrapped briolette bracelets. Our kits come in two colorways. One has gunmetal plating and the beads go from green to pale blue. The other has gold plating and the beads go from purple to nude. Both kits are available from our bead shop and I've put the links down below. The beauty of these kits is that our beads are all check glass briolettes. They're all fully faceted and they're coated so that when they move they have a little shimmer, and all the beads are wrapped, and it's a challenge, but if you were to buy a bracelet like this in the shop it would probably cost about 4 times as much as the kit is costing, so it's worth persevering and finishing the project because it's a beautiful bracelet to wear and you'll be really proud of it once you've made it. Our kit contains 44 large briolette beads. These beads are approximately 1 centimetre long, and I've also got one small briolette bead which is about 1/2 centimetre long, and it will be used at the end of the extender just to finish it off neatly. 45 head pins, 50 1/2 centimetre jump rings, 22 centimetres of chain, and I've used a wide curb chain so that the links on it are quite large and it will be easy for you to put the jump rings on it later on. And one clasp, and again the clasp I've used is quite large so it will be easy to open and close. The tools that I'm going to be using today are my round nose pliers, my flat nose pliers, and I will be using my flash cutters. I find that they're very accurate for wire wrapping, but if you don't have flash cutters you can use your regular cutters as well. It might just be a little bit trickier. And then you will need a ruler or a tape measure as well. The first thing I'm going to do is teach you how to wire wrap a bead. A briolette bead has a hole that goes from one side to the other, so unlike a briolette pendant you're going to have to wire wrap it slightly differently. And what I do is thread a pin through the bead, then using my flat nose pliers I bend the wire with my fingers to a 90-degree angle, leaving about a 0.5 centimetre gap above the bead. Next, I wrap the wire around the top of my round nose pliers. Try and make sure that you place your round nose pliers in the same place every time. This way your loops will always come out more or less the same size. So once I've placed my round nose pliers just about at the bend, I wrap my wire around the top, creating half a loop. Now I remove my pliers and I place them in the same place, and I wrap the wire around the bottom, and this way I create a 360-degree loop. I'm going to remove my pliers carefully now so that you can see the loop. Now hold the wire loop with your round nose pliers, making sure that the wire length is at a 90-degree angle. Grab the end of it with your flat nose pliers. Now you'll need to wrap it around 3 times. You might find that the wire bends at the end, so you may have to release your pliers and re-grasp, but don't worry because it won't damage your coil. After 3 loops, trim the wire and then tuck in the end in between the bead and the bottom of your coil. And you will need to repeat this process for all of your beads. I do find that the first few that I make are quite tricky, but after a while it becomes quite easy, so don't worry if you're struggling with the first few. When you're cutting the leftover piece of wire, make sure that you're careful and you don't do it too close to your eyes because it does tend to fly as the pins are quite thick. So you've got to really watch out for your eyes if you're not wearing glasses or if you've got somebody sitting next to you. I like to pin, loop and wrap my beads by colour, so I've done the darkest colour, 12 of these, the mid colour, of which I've got 20 because it goes both sides of the dark colour afterwards, and now I'm left with the last 12 of the palest colour, and I'm just going to show you one more time how I pin and wrap these beads. So I'm going to put my head pin through the bead, and then with my flat nose pliers, which I grab just above the bead, I'm going to make a bend, 90-degree angle with my fingers and remove my flat nose pliers. And I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to place them just where my bend is, and I'm trying to make sure that my loops are always the same size, so I try and grab it in the same place, and with my fingers I wrap the wire on top of the pliers, so I've got half a loop, and then I take the pliers out and I put them in again in the same place, but this way I just have the bottom edge of my pliers to carry on wrapping the wire around. So in essence I'm using it like a little mandrel to get my 360-degree loop, which I then grab. I'm just going to give it a slight squeeze to straighten it, and I'm grabbing it again with my round nose pliers, and the long edge is at about a 90-degree angle, and I'm going to grab the end of this wire with my flat nose pliers, and I'm going to twist it once. And don't worry if the wire bends a bit, you might have to let go of your pliers and then re-grab twice, and again let go and re-grab at the end. Three times, so you've got a 3-wire coil now. And I remove my pliers and I'm just going to trim the leftover wire with my flash cutters so it's neat. And then I'm just going to tuck the little edge that's left in between my coil and the bead. It's a bit fiddly, but just do it gently so that you don't ruin the shape of your coil, but you don't want to have any sharp protruding edges. And I'm going to take the opportunity to just slightly straighten my loop using my pliers. To assemble your bracelet, you will need to cut the chain into an 18cm length for the main body, and then using a jump ring, connect a clasp to one end of it. For the small 5cm offcut, I like to cut it in the middle and join it with a jump ring. This way I make a little extender chain. I'm now attaching my extender to the end of the chain with a jump ring. Now my chain is complete and I can start attaching the beads to it. I'm going to attach them with jump rings, but first I'm going to take my measurements and divide it so that I put the beads in the right places, and I will fold my chain in half to find the middle, and I'm going to put the darkest bead in the middle because my ombre goes from dark to pale, starting with the dark color in the middle. So I'm just going to attach one bead in the middle as a marker. I'm going to attach it with a jump ring. And then I'm going to measure 1.5 centimeters either side of it. So again, I just mark it by attaching a bead with a jump ring. And again, on the other side, the same color. And because it's ombre, both sides of the dark color, the dark purple bead, will have my mid-tone, which is why I've got 20 of these and not 12 like the other colors, because I need to put it on both sides to make sure the effect, the ombre effect, runs throughout. So just make sure your jump rings are well closed. And now I'm just going to mark 3.5 centimeters from this bead for the last color, and I will do it on both sides by putting a jump ring through that link and placing the last color, which is the palest one, and then again on the other side, so 3.5 centimeters. And I'll finish marking my bracelet ready for me to apply all the other beads. And I like to start with the middle part, and then I do the top sides, and then I finish it off by putting the middle color, and that way I find that the ombre effect works the best. And you will need to put more than one bead for each link, so that it's roughly 2, but you might have to respace it as you go along to make sure that they hang properly. I'm going to put 2 beads for each one of the links at this point, because I've got more beads than links. But as I get closer to where the color changes, I might just end up putting 1 bead per link. And that's why it's so good to mark where the colors go, because then you will know how to space out the beads. But in general, start off with 2 per link, and always apply them in the same way. So always apply it with a jump ring, which you open and close forwards and backwards to make sure it doesn't lose its shape. Make sure you only use 1 jump ring per bead. Don't put 2 beads and 1 jump ring. Now I've attached all my beads to the chain, and I've got 2 left, and I like to lay it flat and just check and see where the gaps are, because it's really quite easy when the bracelet's quite full to miss a couple of links. So I can see that I've got a bead missing here and a bead missing here, and I'm going to put them to fill in those little gaps. And so I've got one more in the little gap here, which I'm going to put in, and slip the bead through it, and again just try and get a good grasp of your jump ring with your pliers. And don't forget, you can go backwards and forwards, but never do it to the side several times until the gap is really well closed. So now I've attached all the beads to my bracelet, and the last thing that I've got left to do to finish it off is the last little bead, which I saved for my extender. I'm going to attach it to the end of my extender chain with a jump ring. I feel that this gives the bracelet a really professional finish, so even though it takes a few minutes longer, it's definitely worth doing. So here we go, after all the hard work of wire wrapping briolette beads, and I know it's not easy, you do have a fantastic bracelet to show off with, and I'm sure you'll enjoy wearing it.